And before I start the course, first of all, let me greet you all. And we start with a greeting like this, which is either Namaste or Hari Om. Hari Om. And Hari Om, Hari is just like a celebration sound, the sound of the divine. Hari. And if you look at the word Hari Om, when you say Ha, you all say it with me. Ha, ha. Where is it coming from? Yes, ha. Right there, right? Ri, going up to your throat. Say it with me. Ri, and it comes all the way up. And you say Om. So when you say Hari Om, what are you doing? You're really massaging your internal nervous system. Or what you will soon learn more about, the subtle body, or our astral body, or our spiritual body. You know, we are also involved here with that which is physical, because we live in the physical world all the time. So we get engrossed, so engrossed in it. And that is the cause of our suffering, and that is the cause of our pain, because we feel so engrossed and enveloped that we feel we're drowning constantly, wanting, needing, I have to have this, I have to have this. We act as if we're never going to die. And this is a cause of so much suffering when it's so unnecessary. And yoga is that science that teaches us it is not necessary to suffer so much while you're living. The cause of our suffering is that we are not in touch with who we really are. We're only in touch most of the time, 99% of the day, or maybe 100%, depends on who you are, with our physical, our body. But we should have more knowledge of what is going on in our minds. Because if we change the way we think, we change our lives. And you all know that. When you get up in the morning happy, you stay happy. One bad thing happens in the morning, you're in a bad mood all day. We can stop that flow. We can change things by understanding how the mind works. And this is the science of yoga. It's the whole study. And the reason why we have a whole study is because there's so much we have to understand about our mind and ourselves. Even psychologists don't understand the depth of the mind. The mind, you see, we think is us, but the mind is not us. And next week we'll speak about that intensely and very, very deeply. So you really have to think, who am I? Who am I? And of course then, the reason why we suffer so much is we haven't understood that we are what we call, yogis call, the self, the higher self. Some people call this higher self God. Some people call it Gurudev. Some people call it Jesus. Some people call it Moses. Some people say it's nature. Some people say it's the sky. Some people say it's the best friend that lives within me. It's irrelevant what you call it. So when I say God sometimes, or I say higher self sometimes, or I say divine consciousness sometimes, they all mean the same. That which takes us to our highest that we can be, the best we can be, and so we can live a beautiful life. Simply to be peaceful, easeful, and useful. What is the point, I tell people over and over again, to do all the practice of spirituality, go to church and pray for hours, go to temples, thinking you're becoming holier and holier just by doing those things when you have no peace in yourself. My master taught me one really important thing, and I think it saved my entire life. He said to me, Nalanie, make peace your God. Write that down, never forget it. And do not even allow God to disturb that peace. Hello. It's okay, come on. I think, would you like the chair or the floor? You sure? There's some cushions, please help yourself. Yeah. And if you get something like this, write this down. I tell you why. And I think you all know why. We live in a very modern world. You watch all the wars that are going on, between in this world, all based on religion. All based, most of them, religion. This religion is better than this one. This is superior to this one. What a lot of nonsense when the teachers themselves didn't teach us that. I mean, look at all the greatest masters in the world. What did all of them have in common? Telling us we are light, we come from light, and telling us we are love. Our old ancient yogic Vedas are the oldest books you can find. Talk about this divine consciousness and where we come from as the Lord of love. For me, until today, it's the best interpretation I have found. The Lord of love. Because notice one thing about each one of us. When we feel loved, when we are in love, when we love life, we feel whole. It's that simple. And most of the time we are so far away. We are so far away from this love because we haven't understood that our spirit is this love. But our spirit comes from such a pure place of love that this love is unconditional. And many of us don't know how to do unconditional love. Why? Are we bad? No, we just haven't been taught in school. We just haven't been taught throughout our life how to love fully. We've been told, in fact, the opposite. Don't trust anyone. Don't be comfortable with this one. The story of Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf will eat you. But isn't it always nice that the hunter comes along and saves you? And that is really life. We're told so many things, so we get entrapped in it. So we don't dare give of ourselves the best we can. Because when we love life, we live it with a passion. Don't you? When you love what you do, it becomes a passion. And when it becomes a passion, there's an energy in it. There's an energy in it. And when you create energy, when energy is created, there's a lot of movement. When there's a lot of movement, you really enjoy your life. Lots of things happen to you in the best way possible. Life takes on, as Paramahansa Yogananda would say, one of the great Indian sages, a divine romance. You fall in love with life. And life is tough to fall in love. I'm quite a tough teacher. I want things on time. Because if I'm going to give you the time to mark your papers, you are going to give me the time by writing it. Okay? And it's really important because this is a course, let me explain it. It is your search for your inner self. It is your search for your truth. I found my truth. I'm not looking for anything. But it's a search and it's a way to go. It's like a map. The Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, which is the book we're going to be using, is really actually a map on how to be in touch with your spirit, your soul. I mean, when I first studied this book, I thought, oh my God, I didn't even know such a book existed. Why isn't it taught to people in schools? Why aren't we given this freely everywhere we go? I mean, this should be given because this is the best psychology ever and really a way to accept life as it is. Because you really start to understand when you take this course intensely, who you really are and what you are capable of being and doing. And that you become your best doctor, your best psychologist. Drop the addictions, drop the drugs, drop it all. You'll want to because you'll love yourself more for who you are and what you are and what you're capable of. And it's a fight. It will be a fight during this course, and I'm going to warn you. Because when I ask you to speak one day without using any papers and just tell me how you feel, you're going to not like some of that feeling, It's a rediscovery on finding who you are. You're going to find out things that, when we cover subjects like truthfulness and non-stealing and non-violence, and you think, oh, I'm the best person in the world, I always speak the truth, and you discover that you lie half the time in your life. These things are not going to be pleasant or comfortable, but it will awaken you to the purity that is you. It will awaken you to what goes wrong in your life and what goes right and why it does. It gives you that tool to be so in touch with the purest part of you. Because when you touch the purest part of you, that part of you is the same part as everybody else. You know, even in the Paralympics closing ceremony, did any of you watch it? Just a few. Oh, you should have watched it. It's quite something. You know, these things bring out the excellence in people, the best in people. And to see people that are disabled. You know, I remember what touched me the most was seeing this spastic woman playing music. They had a Paralympics orchestra with her nose hitting on the computer. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Wasn't that quite something? You know, I have a special needs granddaughter. I thought, wow, look at the cape. What could she do with her life? But what did these people show us on that closing ceremony? What human spirit can do. How people that are so disabled can do such incredible things that we who call ourselves so able can't even think about doing. And I think this awakened many people. And when the person who organized, the chairperson of the Olympic Committee talked, he spoke, he said, and I was really quite impressed, he said, it brings us all together as one human spirit. And the word yoga actually means to yoke on to that spirit, that oneness that is in all of us. It's not an easy thing to do, because you're going to meet personalities that are disagreeable. You're going to meet people in life that you don't like. You are going to learn how to love everyone, and it's quite all right not to like everyone. And this is what you will learn to do. And you say, how could I not do this before? And how come I can do this now? It's because when you rediscover your spirit, you can do as Lord Jesus taught us. Judge the sin, not the sinner. You can do it. It will take time. Might take years, it might take a lifetime. But what it will do for you is give you the tools to already start being happier. Already start going deeper within. Already start letting go of what is not ours. Because nothing is ours, is it? It's really quite clear, isn't it? You know, it was so clear when I lost my dad, and then my husband emptied the cupboards. All these clothes, all these watches, all these shoes. Everything left behind. Your sister Coral, who died so young at 42. 41?
48.
Oh, she was 48. Still too young, way too young, way too young. And she wanted so much to live. And then I watched Nuria here, who, when I met her, I don't know how many years ago, can I say, suffered from panic attacks, and that's why she came to yoga. She was always depressed, suffering from panic attacks. And then I saw her be her sister's mother, teacher, guardian. She did an incredible job counseling the entire family in the 8 months. 8 months it was in hospital.
In hospital, yeah.
Yeah, 8 months in hospital. Watching her sister deteriorate step by step and not wanting to accept that she was going to die. And she sat there talking to her, giving her comfort, strength, courage, and giving her parents. She had to teach her parents the reality that, you know, my sister's not going to make it. Why are you all living in this unreal world? You all need to get together and tell her how much you love her. And she brought the whole family together. And I watched this girl that I'd known as so nervous, panicked at her first retreat half the time with my niece, and crying all the time, do this. And that's what it gives you. And that's what it gives you. And then when I looked at her and the way she nursed her sister all those months, I thought, yoga really works. And she came and told me, yoga really works, you know. And that was, for me, what yoga really is. Many people think yoga is just doing postures or asanas. You know, asanas is another word for postures. You all know that, do you? Say the word asanas. I want you to get used to it. Asanas.
Asanas.
Asanas. It means postures. It's just another word for postures. And most people think yoga is all about the postures. When postures is really important, which we're going to cover today when we cover the branches of yoga, but it is not what most people think yoga is. You know, many yoga schools have become so commercial. Do hatha yoga and you'll find your truth. And people come so disillusioned after 5 or 6 years doing hatha, still frustrated, more body conscious than they've ever been, more worried about their figure and how they look than they've ever been. I said, you've jumped from the fire into the, from the, what is the saying? You've jumped you've jumped from the saucepan into the fire. What have you gained? At least before you're peaceful, now you're so body conscious, you become so rigid that you have to do it this way, you have to eat this, you have to do this. You become mechanical, you've lost your peace. I don't see half the yoga teachers or yogis happy anymore. Isn't yoga about being happy? Isn't life about being peaceful, easeful, and useful? Have you forgotten the goal? What is the point of doing a perfect headstand if you have no peace? What is the point of doing anything in your life if you can't laugh and enjoy this earth? And, as the gods say, enjoy it. This is your Garden of Eden. What's the point of living if we're frustrated every single day of our life? What does spirit mean? And this is the whole yoga science. Who are you really? Who are you really? And this whole course takes you to find yourself, because it's very easy to say, oh, I love everyone when everything is going well. Oh, I know that we are all one. I hear people talking very pretty language, when they give talks, they do very pretty, very pretty. When it comes to behind the doors, they're nervous, they're angry. Oh, I wanted brown rice. Why did you make me white rice? Oh, I won't eat this. And that's acceptance. That's peace. That's joy. Get real. What is? Get real. What are you here for? And I want you to know this. If you think you're going to come out here with huge heads and huge egos, please, I do not need you here. You can leave right now, because I'll slam your ego down. Sorry. I told you I'm different as a teacher and as a talker. One side I'm a teacher, I'm strict. Slam the ego down. But if you think and if you come here because you want to be the best you can and give the world the best you can, and that we can all learn to be together as happy as we can. We're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. To grow in compassion, to grow in generosity, to grow in kindness, to grow in service, and to be useful to the world we live in before we die and say, look, I've done my best. I contributed to this world. Then please stay. But that is what is really, for me as a teacher, I don't really care how well you write an essay, so long as the essay has you in it. I don't want you, when you write an essay for me, because you will be required to write 8 essays, is it? Did we say 8 essays? Yes. You'll be required to write 8 essays and do 5 of the book. You can get it from Amazon, it's the fastest way. We thought of ordering it from the ashram, but sometimes when we order it from America, it goes astray and actually takes long. So I preferred that people would get it themselves so that you would have it. How many don't have the book? Okay. Have you tried ordering it from Amazon?
Yes, but it says I'm not in the territory or something like that. I'm not in the... I don't live in a place where they can send it to me.
Okay. Have you tried Yoga Matters?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Yoga?
Yoga Matters. YOGAMATTERS. It's also from England, and they've sent us books before. I think it's yogamatters.com or .org. I wouldn't have... Just Google it. You'll find it. Yeah? Try there. Do we have any left in Gibraltar?
I'm going to check, because I saw some boxes there the other day, so maybe...
If we have them, we'll send an email out right away and let the students know that we have them, and we'll keep all the copies aside. So we will know by tomorrow. I'll be in Gibraltar tomorrow. So
Yeah, because the boxes.
we'll check it
Maybe.
tomorrow immediately. And for then, don't order till you hear from me tomorrow night. We'll send. I don't get home till 9:30, so they will send an email out. Is 9:30 too late or 10 for sending?
No, I won't do it.
Okay, and if you don't hear from us, it means that go order your copy, so maybe you might get it for next week, because we'll start with the book next week. Today we're starting with this, because I want to explain a little bit about the whole course and what is expected of you, so that when next week you come, we go straight into the book and straight into work. All right? So, any questions so far? Anything you'd like to ask?
Yeah, just roughly the essays. How long?
Oh, they won't be so long, because I know everybody works.
Yeah.
So one side on an A4 is all I require, you know. And sometimes
Handwritten, just handwritten,
I would,
or prefer type.
you can write by hand if you're rushing in time. Otherwise, it's nice if it's typed, only because sometimes I can't read the handwriting.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if it's difficult, really, you just write by hand. Really is no problem. The most important thing is just handing it in, and it can be short. If you can say what you need to say in 5 sentences, I will accept that. I care about content, not volume. So it's quality, not quantity. Yeah, because people can give me a 5-page essay and they're waffling. And I go, failed, you know?
Is it the entire year that it would take us, or is it just what you've written in this?
I've just covered this to December. We are hoping to finish it in August. April. I'm hoping to finish in April, because I hope to take a little sabbatical next year for a few months, 3 or 4 months, and I want to finish it by April. So I've just done this because I will be also away some of the time, because I do talks in other places in the world, and I'll be, I have programs myself all over the world to speak. But when I'm away, you will have a substitute teacher who will be very good and will teach you what you need to, so you don't miss anything. Because I really want it to be, for you and for me, we finish on time, you know, because it will be intensive then. And the more intense it is, the better it is. The more we keep it out, the energies will go. And like I said, my travel plans are very, very complicated, and many places to go to with the charities. So I'm trying to, that's why I haven't given you January to April yet. Because I have to go to Gambia, and I also have to go to Hong Kong at that time. So I'm trying to see the dates I can least miss, and you'll have a substitute teacher for all those dates. Okay, so don't worry. There'll be people who have been in Raj Yoga for a long time who will be able to help you. The reason why we have charged €100 for this course, I'll tell you why. First of all, you will all be receiving a manual. Once we get some cash in, we'll get you manuals done.
Well, anybody who would like to pay today to me or something, just come and pay and we take you off.
Yeah, if 2 people pay, we can go.
Yeah.
2 or 3 people, I can pay for it first, whatever. Because we always run by charity here, so we don't have excess cash. We just bought that, you see, for the center, which we thought would be really useful, and we bought a new printer. So, and you will get all of this, all of you will get a Raj Yoga manual with the €100. Also, expenses during the year, ink, cartridges, etc. It'll cover all the handouts that we'll be giving you, because whatever I find interesting or good for you, so much stuff coming out, I'll photocopy and just give you to keep in your own file. Whatever is left over at the end of the day, I would like to do something for the center or buy something. Like the last time I did a TT, we had some money left over, we bought the amplifier. And for graduation, of course, your certificates and all that. So that the €100 will go towards that, and I think about 30 or 40% of that will go into our charity SIS, which we work with people all over the world with all our different projects. If you're interested in that, I can talk about that another time. So that's where the €100 will go, just to let you know more or less where the money, and that's why we charge the €100, just to cover ourselves. We always need petty cash, and these girls will be running up and down, and I think we should cover their petrol and all their hard work. Really, I don't think it's fair, their petrol should be paid for. Sorry, I insist, it's not right. So So these are the things it'll go for. Is everybody happy with that? If you don't have the €100 now, there is no rush. You can pay us when you want. Or you can pay, so long as we have enough, like I said, to do the manuals immediately for you, we'll be quite happy to get the manuals done. So I don't want to handle money, I never do, so please give it to them. Money is dangerous in my hands. It comes, it'll go out. So don't give me money, give it to them. I never handle money. So I don't want to, it's going to be used. And the other thing I needed to ask you all, which is very important today as well, when you finish this course, you will get a diploma from me, and it will cover all over Europe. My master himself personally has written me a letter saying that he has given me the permission to do this. However, because so many copyrights, there's so many copyright problems, etc., his major ashram is in the United States, in Virginia. And we work very, very well together. You know, we're just one family. But we never know what the future holds, you know, in life. So if you would like a certificate from the States, because obviously they approve of all my teaching methods, you can get one. But you would have to pay $108 separately. Not to me, it's a donation for the ashram. I don't get a penny of it. But that's what they charge for a certificate if we're doing the course outside. So if anybody would like an international USA international certificate, please speak to Shanti, because she'll write to our contact in the ashram in America, and we will get you that. So on graduation day, you will have both certificates. And this is just to cover you. If you don't want both, you don't have to have both. It's really up to you. For me, certificates don't mean anything anyway. I think it's how you live. But obviously, unfortunately, in this day and age, people do require them. So, you know, and if you do want to go into service, and many people have used the Raj Yoga knowledge for, you know, spiritual counseling, and where psychologists can't help, they've helped with the spiritual counseling, then obviously you would need that. You would need that diploma. So I would suggest it's wise to have it. Just for the world we live in now. Okay, so I let you decide on that, but please let Shanti know. You have up till January to let us know about the American
it's a bit
certificate.
earlier anyway.
Before Christmas.
You think so? Before Christmas? Okay, fine. Any questions? Anything you'd like to ask about the course itself?
There is another book we have to have. Which one is that?
Okay, the book is called How to Know God. It's a small book. And you have it?
Yeah.
Yes, you've got it. Can you lend it to me, Terry? Oh, that's a new cover. Yeah, it's a new cover. It's a new cover. They've reprinted it again.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
same.
same.
They just come with a new cover. It's How to Know God, right? This is how they call it. It's a second very good translation I have found of the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali. So sometimes when I give you homework and you're stuck, and you know, we talk about gunas and we talk about koshas, and you go, eeks, I'm not really sure I've really understood this. This has very good explanations on the gunas. Some of the sutras that we'll be covering, Gurudev's explanation, my master's explanations are brilliant, sometimes brief, sometimes even what I say in class, like I said, the mind will only take a few things and forget the rest. So this is another second book that you could refer to the sutras that we are covering. The word sutra means thread. I'm talking sutras and I'm getting blank looks. Thank you. Oh, and if you want the author, it's Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood. It's written by two people. It's such a long name, so I suggest that you ask Terry if you can borrow it, or can you send them an email?
I sent an email earlier in summer, the 2 books you needed. Maybe not everyone's on my email list.
I didn't get it.
I sent it out, but we talk later. We'll get you.
Okay, if you give Shanti your... Oh, she has your details.
I do.
She does.
Yes.
But maybe you're not on the student list if you haven't, you know, mailed saying that you're doing the course, because we sent out
I sent it
to
twice.
everybody that was doing the course.
I also sent it to everybody, all the Sangha members. I sent it out as well. During summer, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have it. But for me, when I did my course, it was extremely useful. It was extremely useful. For the 8 months that we're going to go ahead, I want you immersed in it. Immersed in the philosophy. So you're going to be doing a lot of reading, a lot of thinking, because it's all about who you are and what you are, and it'll make you think and want you to think until you're so fed up of thinking you don't think anymore. That's the idea. We exhaust your thinking process, because people are trying to meditate and keep an empty mind. How can you keep an empty mind when you don't even understand how to do it? Many teachers go meditate, here's a mantra, but how can you meditate when your mind is like thinking, oh, I have to feed my kids, oh, I don't have this and I don't have this. The mind won't let you. How do you let go of all those attachments? This is what the Course tells you, how to do it. Take your time. But if you get so frustrated, I can't keep my mind. So many people tell me, oh, no, I can't meditate, I can't keep my mind quiet. And I said, do you know what the great Saint Ramakrishna said? He said, if you really want to keep your mind quiet, why don't you just get a hammer and hit yourself in the head? That's how it's people have misunderstood it. And then people pretend and show it's so easy. It's not. It's not so easy to quieten the mind. So, don't want you to think that it's going to happen overnight. It's not. I'd be very truthful to you. It's hard work from you, and it's the best work you can do. I can guarantee that, because the best work I did, it changed my entire life from seeing hell into seeing heaven. And I think everybody should live that way, to live a life seeing heaven and not hell. To undergo pain and sorrow, and to be able to say, this too shall pass, and mean it and know it with all your heart, that this too shall pass. One thing is saying it and not really knowing it, but when you know, there is a freedom in it, there's a joy in it. And that's what I want you to get in touch with, that knowing, that deep, deep, deep peace that we're all made up of. Remember what Gurudev said? Make peace your God. Because then in the middle of the battle of your life, because life is full of battles, you maintain your peace and your strength. And when you have that, the freedom that you feel is incredible. We call it moksha, which means freedom. And we want freedom while we're living. It's too late when we die. We don't have a body to want freedom anymore. We're already free. We don't want to miss out on this life that we've been given. That's the whole idea of the yoga science. You don't want to miss out. You want to breathe, live every single second of it to the best of your ability. And even when you're miserable, you want to learn to enjoy your misery. And you can do that. I've learned you can do that. You write, you become creative. Because pain is only a learning. That's how you do it. But all this will take time and your energy, and you'll be doing it throughout the 9 months. So, any other questions before I go on to what is really integral yoga? And what is, first of all, I told you, sutra means thread. We are studying the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali. Who is Sri Patanjali? Nobody really knows. This text is over 5,000 years old. Some people say it's 3,000 years old. Some people say it's 10,000 years old. Nobody really knows. Some people even say that Sri Patanjali wasn't one person, but many people, and they just called it Patanjali. But let's start with just making him one person, because it'll be much easier for us. So, Sri Patanjali was a wise, wise sage. In the old days, we didn't have so much noise. And people already learned that there was suffering and life was hard, nature was harsh, sometimes you have the different seasons, people die and things disappear. And so many people spend a lot of time in quiet, in nature, and ask, what is the point of all this? Why are we here? What is our human mission? What is the point of all this? And then in the end, we die. What is it all about? So many of these sages, or rishis as they're called, wise ones, sat in quiet. They realized they couldn't find the truth outside, so they decided to look inside for the truth. So they started to meditate. And in their quiet moments, they learned a lot of things. They learned who they were. They heard sounds. They heard mantras. And they got direct knowledge from the universe. And the universe is everywhere. Space is everywhere. Can you look around you? Space is everywhere. It's not that space occupies us. We occupy space. Alright? When we die, we become one with space. And we lose the occupation of this body. So, what we need to look at when we are thinking what Sri Patanjali did, and those days they communicated with this space, call it divine consciousness, call it God. They communicated. They got answers. They got answers. And how do you know these answers work? Don't take my word for it. You read the science, you study it. If it works for you, great. That's what I did when I saw this book and I studied the Raja Yoga course myself the first time. I don't know if this really works, you know. I'm not sure, because I'm a bit of a rebel. I still am by nature. I love to question. Well, now I have no more questions in that department. I'm so good, I know. But at that time, I had to question everything. So I said, okay, they say by the practice of non-violence, all hostility cease. I want to understand this. I want to understand it. Experiment. And really, the less I was violent, the more pleasurable my life became. You know? And this was really quite interesting. And then truthfulness the same, and non-stealing the same. I mean, not that I ever stole, but you don't realize that sometimes stealing is so deep that sometimes you steal people's time or their energy without even realizing it. We take energy from people. We hurt a lot of things without even realizing it. I became aware of that. So this is what happens to you when you study Sri Patanjali. And this is what's happened. People haven't changed in 5,000 or 7,000 years. We are still people. We still need the same things that make us work. And what is our best medicine? Love. Like I said earlier on. When you're in love with life, everything works. And that is our medicine. That is human medicine. And so where to bring the love from? But love just doesn't mean outside love. It also means internal love. Love for oneself. You have to learn to love yourself also. And I've realized in this generation, in this time, in this space that we are living in, for some reason, so many people don't love themselves enough. So many people really believe they don't deserve to be happy. They really believe they don't deserve to be happy. When they're happy, they question why are they happy. They think they don't deserve it. And for me, this is really quite odd, but this is what's existing at this time. And also what I have noticed, that people cling to their unhappiness. And when I tell them to let it go, they're almost like, oh, you can't take this away from me. It's my security blanket. It makes me miserable, but I still want it. And I have had to teach them to remove those blankets because it's suffocating them. It's not making them happy. They deserve to be happy. And when you see people take away all these covers and become free, it's really a beautiful vision. I mean, we have a student here in Shanti, and let me tell you about her, because she really is one of the best examples I know of yoga practice. You know, when I met her, she was very, and she doesn't mind me talking about it, she was very nervous. People pleaser, just agreed with everybody just to people please. Extremely nervous, and she hid herself so much that she even would wear layers of clothes. In summer, you would never see her like this. She'd have long sleeves. In winter, she slept with 3 pajamas. 3 pairs of pajamas. Serious. When I took her to Barcelona for the first time with me, when I traveled there, my hostess's husband asked me, "Is she for real?" You know? What's she covering up? You know? And literally over the years, I've watched her shed those physical layers. And now the beauty that is her, the kindness, the genuineness, you know, is so pure and so loving. And I can really tell you that because I travel with her, and we have some situations that are really very, very difficult. And she always ends up smiling. And she has not ever spoken badly about any of my students ever. And for me, that is a sign of a real yogi. She will say they have done this wrong, truthfully now. She won't also say they're perfect. She'll tell me, Nalanie, this is wrong. But you know, they're really good people. They have to learn. Good discrimination. You see, able to discriminate. And this is really important because spiritual people also forget how to discriminate. Who we need to learn to live. Also teaches us that we have many layers. We have many layers, many masks, many fears. And this is what we'll be removing from ourselves. And one by one by one. And how I saw it was when I started this course, I saw this huge blackboard, which was my mind. And it was full of squiggles. Can you imagine it? Full of squiggles all over the board. And suddenly, with Sri Patanjali's tools, each sutra is a tool that you can use. I was given an eraser in my hand, and I could actually start to physically erase all that rubbish that was in my mind that I didn't even know. And that's how I looked upon it, this eraser, to clean up that so that I could see clearly who I really was. And next week we'll go intensely into that again. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? All right? So Sri Patanjali, in those days, spiritual knowledge was passed on verbally. Master to student, student to more students, and it was always passed on like that. And it was only passed on in those days to a very select few. People who were quite bright, very intellectual, because they felt that to give this knowledge to people who didn't understand it could be dangerous, which I totally agree with. So only a few select people were able to take the course. Of course, in those days, don't forget you had a lot of illiterate people. So when you talk to them, they could only understand God by having a statue and worshipping God like that. You tell them God is everywhere, in you and me, and they'd freak out. They just couldn't understand that concept. Or they would see God in nature, and you tell them God was everywhere, and some of them couldn't understand that. So obviously, only a few were taught this yoga science. Of course, today, we live in a very different time. So I'm really grateful that Sri Patanjali realized that all this knowledge was being lost as human beings moved more and more towards materialism and less towards the spirit. He realized the knowledge would be lost. So what happened was he wrote down these sutras, and that's why the sutras are short, they're very terse, it's like when a mental modification of an object previously experienced and not forgotten comes back to consciousness, that is memory. And you're thinking, oh, I don't understand what this is going on. So it's terse. And the translation we have of that is by Sri Swami Satchidananda, who happens to be my master and some of these people's master. So this is what a sutra is. In this book, that we are studying, it's divided into 4 parts. You need to know this for the people who are studying. It's divided into 4 parts. We will be only touching book 1 and book 2, and only 3 sutras from book 3. Reason being, the other sutras are very deep, and unless you understood the first part really well, you're not going to be able to even understand the rest of it. It's going to be double Dutch. Alright, it goes into powers that one can attain as human beings, and besides, we don't want to give you those big powers so soon. You might be corrupted. Don't you know, very, very spiritual people have an energy and a force, because they take it from above, and they know how to do it. With this science, you will learn how to tap onto that energy, but it's very, very important how you use it. It's really, because power is power. If you use it badly, the divine consciousness, like I said, space is everything. Good and bad is in that space. We can receive the power. That's why we have a lot of Indian Hindu texts. We have the Ramayana, which if you people go, oh, monkey god, etc., and they think, oh, it's really odd. But if you look at the symbolism in it, is quite incredible. If you read the Mahabharata, the symbolism is quite incredible. Because you have the good side and you have the bad side. They both pray, they both do mantras, they both live in the same world. One is succumbed by lust and greed and all those, and the other one is in goodness and kindness and generosity. The power comes to both, but the victor is always the one that uses it for good. And isn't it true of life? In the end, we always win. The good always overcomes evil. In the end, always does. In the end, always does. Look throughout history. But it takes some time. So with this human consciousness now that many people are being aware of, wanting to make it a better world, and we live in beautiful times. I think we live in beautiful times. So many people are becoming spiritually conscious. I'm quite amazed when we travel all over the world. The awakening is like, I want this spiritual consciousness. I want this peace. I want to live my life. I'm tired of running after things and people, and Matt, I'm tired. I want to live. That's what people tell me. I want to live in peace. And I want our world to be a peaceful place. We're destroying the world. So many with that consciousness, it just makes me so happy. 20 years ago when I started, I was called a witch for teaching this science. And 20 years later, 20 years is a very short time in humanity's life. Very short years. And so much our human race has grown in 20 years. Where really, 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 as Charles Dickens says, in the best of times and the worst of times. And it's up to us, and Sri Patanjali says, and my master also says, with the tools you can either make your world a heaven or a hell. And you have that power. And I've seen it's absolutely true. She turned from hell into heaven. Same world. Who changed? What changed? She changed. Did her circumstances change? No. She changed. As she changed, everything around her changed. It's quite amazing. And if she tells you some of the stories and miracles that happened to her, you just wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. And sometimes I go, wow, she's in trouble, needs 500 euros. 5 minutes later, she gets a phone call saying, oh, your father-in-law left an extra 500 euros for you. I mean, how does that happen? The will had been read already a year ago and everything was done. She just tells me she wants it. She's the only person I know who got money back from investing in property that went bad in Spain. Most people take 15, 20 years to get their money back. She gets it back in a year. You never hear of those things. How does she do it? The power of love, the power of movement. And when you recognize it and you see it, it's quite phenomenal. And then the more I watch her, I have some other students in the world, and what they have given to the world, and I see what they're getting back thousandfold. It's phenomenal to watch. And they, in their turn, are just giving this knowledge free, which I hope you will all do. And just share it with everything you learn, share it with people. Share it, share it, share it. Share it as much as you can. And that is what Sri Patanjali also tells us, alright? So any questions on sutras, Sri Patanjali, anything? Okay, you've understood Sri Patanjali now. Let me ask you, do all of you know what a guru is? What the word guru means? Okay, who doesn't know? Can I ask you in that way? Who doesn't know what the word guru means? Okay, great. Guru. It means remover of darkness. Anyone that removes the darkness from your mind is a guru. Today in modern language, they use the word guru very often. They go, the guru of business, the guru of medicine, the guru of this. The person that brings light to darkness. Alright? So, many years ago, I've known my master, Sri Swami Satchidananda, since I was 5. My father was a very spiritual person and very generous and very kind. In fact, one of the greatest gurus that I have ever met in my life. And I was very lucky he happened to be my dad. And he invited so many holy people home from all different religions. I went to a Catholic school and my father was, I say, Dad, can I go to church? And he'd go, of course, God is everywhere. You can go wherever you want. God is in a church, God is in a temple, God is everywhere. So, my father brought Swami Satchidananda into our home when I was 5 years old, and I saw this great person walk in. In those days, he looked like Moses. The long hair. Would you imagine Moses to be the long hair? And he's tall. And from South India, normally they're short. But he was so tall, and he floated in, and all of us as children, I lived in a joint family system, so I lived with 18 of my cousins all growing up together in the same home. We'd all run to him, pull his beard, pinch his cheeks, and he just had these arms that I used to think were huge because he could fit us all in those arms. He was extremely loving and extremely kind. However, throughout my childhood, I met many such different masters. And I also met many who just came to my dad for the money, and it was all about money. And I met some who weren't very nice. I met one that I tried to kiss my mother behind my father's back. So I said, okay, gurus are not for me. I just closed my mind to that. And then I always realized there was something. For me as a child, I was at images. I always thought there was this God. And my image of God was at that time one person, although at the age of 5 I did remember a very incredible vision I had, which at that time I didn't understand at all, and it was a vision of this body, and inside this body we were all there, we were cells in this body, but at that age I didn't understand what it meant, till many years later when I read the Bhagavad Gita, and I saw that vision. I remember I was scared, I didn't understand it, but when we read the Gita you will understand that. Anyway, so for many years I said I didn't want a guru, I didn't need a guru, I had a connection with the divine myself, I used to pray. Of course what happens, I get married, go to university, get married, things don't work out perfectly like you expect them to. You think as a child, get married happily ever after. I corrected, you get married, work ever after. But I didn't know how to make that work fun, you see. I understood only pain because I was looking, at that point, it was all about, I had to sacrifice my life in Hong Kong to move to Gibraltar to be with my husband. I had to do all the work, I had to run the shops, I had to run everything, cook, I was living like a princess in Hong Kong with maids who call up my kitchen. Oh, please send me food. We had a food left, and here I was. I felt like Cinderella. So I wonder what life had caught me into. And we all go through. And I'm just telling this story because I think many of us in our own lives go through some kind of dramatic change, sometime or other, that, it's a shock on the system. It was a shock on my system. But I was madly in love with my husband. And although he told me, why don't you go back to Hong Kong till I make some money and I'll bring you back. And I actually answered him. No, I married you for better or for worse. And I'm sticking with that. And I'm very glad I did. I'm so glad I did. Because he was a wonderful husband and a wonderful man. And he taught me a lot. He taught me so much about my ego. He taught me so much about my selfishness. He taught me so much about what I didn't know. If I hadn't married him, I wouldn't be sitting here today. If I hadn't suffered, I would not be able to talk to you about light and darkness. I'd only be able to talk about light and probably wearing all those fancy clothes and just locked in the world of materialism. So I'm very grateful to him for what he's done. Thank you, sweetheart, wherever you are. So anyway, he's passed away, by the way, just to let you know. That's why I said thank you. So then I came to a time in my life, and I was about 13 years married, and I realized that my children were extremely bright, and I wanted them to have the best in life and to be a little bit independent. So I had to send them to school in England, to boarding schools, which was something I never thought I would ever do in my life. And of course, when I sent them away, my heart broke. But I knew it was the best for them. And they were very happy to go. So, but then I looked at my life and I go, what for? I had children, now I have to let them go, and this and that. Everything I love, my family's in Hong Kong. And then I was also teaching dance at that time and at a dance school. I used to work during the day till 5 and teach from 5 to 8. And at that time, my knees went bad from so many hours of standing and dancing. That's why today I have a lot of trouble. So watch it. What you overuse, you lose, all right? And what you don't use, you also lose. So learn from my mistake. Don't overdo. All these people overdoing gyms today, please be careful. You may lose your limbs sometime. Because I overused my legs, okay? My knees went bad, I couldn't walk. The doctor said, now you have to stop dancing. Overnight, I had to give up what I love. So everything kind of da-da-da-da-da-da. And all that was left was hard work, doing a job I did not like, which was retail, which was my husband's business. But I did it really well, but I didn't like it. I knew it wasn't. You know how you know something is not for you, even though you're very good at it? You still know there's something that you inside. I know this is not for me. I know this is not for me, but I didn't know what else to do. So anyway, one day, and then I had some horrible people who was constantly putting me down. And I just, I can't deal with this. I went home and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And I said, if there is a God, you show your face, otherwise I'll never be good again. I thought I was good. I didn't even know the meaning of good in those days. I really did not. And in our Hindu tradition, and also Western tradition, I have learned, they say when the student is ready, the master appears. So next day, I get a phone call from Sri Swami Satchidananda's secretary. Gurudev wants to speak to you. He goes, Nalanie, I am going to Zinao for a peace conference. May I come to visit you? I later learned he never did that. He just didn't do that. People invited him, but he didn't say, how can I come and visit you? Well, of course, in those days, I didn't know what to do. I called my mother-in-law, go, Mom, this great guru is coming. What do I do with him? He's so famous, he's so well. I know Swamiji, but I haven't seen him for 15 years because I've been in Gibraltar, and, you know, what do I do? So, anyway, he came, and I arranged everything. Mom said, just look after him, do everything for him, feed him, do everything for him. So, trust my mom, knows she knows all the golden rules. So I did that, and at the end of the week, after living with him, I just couldn't go back to what I was doing. I saw something that I'd never seen before. I'd seen a peace. I felt a presence. I felt a feeling of holiness in every way. Just watching him for 1 week. And I said, I need to live like he lives. Otherwise, I will never feel whole. I will always be lost. And then I had a vision. Well, I had arranged to talk for him in John McIntosh Hall in those days when he was doing yoga. I don't know how 150 people turned out to this day. I still don't understand that. And he was talking world peace. And of course, when he was talking, I had visions of him changing. I mean, it sounds really strange, but this is the absolute truth. I saw his form changing to Jesus, and then, you know, Buddha, and then Krishna, and I go, no, this is not happening to me. And so I asked my husband, was next to me, pinch me. I went white. In my dark skin, I don't get white. So he pinched me, and then I said, I'm just imagining this, you know. It happened the second time, and I knew I wasn't imagining it. And something just overcame me. So the next day I spoke to him, spoke to his secretary, and I said, you know, I saw this. I really saw it with my eyes. It wasn't an imagination. I was awake. And she said, it's happened to 2 or 3 people. And I said, I want now to take him on as my spiritual master. What do I do? Speak to him. So I spoke to him. And when I told him I had the vision, he just laughed. And I said, can I make you my guru? He said, sure, you'll always be my daughter, Nalanie. Sure. And so I said, then I left him at the airport. And I asked him, I said, what do I do with my life now? I can't live the way I used to do. What do I do with my life? And he said to me, meditate. Love whatever you're doing. Love whatever you do. Purify your mind. When you are ready, God will use you. So I went home. He made it simple. I didn't need to do anything. I just had to start loving where I was. So that's when the very next day, I didn't know how to meditate. And I told him that actually, and he said, you've read enough books, which is true. I think I must have read 100 books on meditation, but I never did it. Isn't it true? We read so much about so many cures, etc., but we never do it. And so I had all these instructions that were stored in my memory that I hadn't even realized I had. So I sat down and meditated, and it grew and grew and grew, and so on and so on. And this is the idea of the word guru, and the reason why I wanted you to understand that is because we might come across this word quite a lot, and it is a removal of darkness, because he did remove my darkness, really. You know, from that moment on, I didn't see darkness, but I saw light at the end of the tunnel, and it grew, and with every year it just grew brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. With every year. So getting old for me has been a wonderful experience, and not one of bitterness and anguish and fear and worry, which I was drowned in before I studied this science. I was drowned in fear, worry. I couldn't even live alone. I was scared to be on my own. I was scared of bugs, and I live in a garden full of bugs. I would never do that. I was a city girl, you know, spoiled. You know, and it just changed my life so much. Instead of seeing hell everywhere, I saw heaven everywhere. Being a mother made me a better mother. Being a wife, I think I can say I tried to be the best wife I could. If I made any mistakes, my husband totally forgave me for them. And before he died, and that was a really nice feeling of closure when he passed away. No guilt, no fear, no worry, because I was the best wife I could be. You know, and so to me all these things made a big difference. So this is why I'm telling you this story. We're here to be the best we can be as we are. We're in a position, if today you find yourself friend, wife, you know, whatever, just try to love wherever you are. Try not to want to be somewhere else all the time. Just start to sit with where you are. If it's really, really wrong for you, you will be pushed out of the situation. You will. If you just sit there in peace and start to say, okay, this is what I have. How can I be so creative in this moment? Actually, tomorrow I'm going to speak about that. Entrepreneurship and spirituality. How can I be so creative with something I don't like? How can I make something I don't like into something I love? And you have to be very creative in order to do that. You really have to think of ways how you can make something you don't like, you know, to something you love. And that's what you need to do with your life. You start to work like that from this moment on. Okay? And from this moment on, anything that is causing you pain, from today onwards, tomorrow morning or tonight, before you go to bed, this is the start of your study. Because there is no point studying if you don't practice. I would like you 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute even, before you go to bed tonight, just to sit in quiet. Take a deep breath and sit in quiet. And tell yourself, I'm really going to live the best life I can. I'm really going to do this. I'm going to really love the way I can. I'm really going to do this. I'm going to know it. And then ask the energies for help. Ask for guidance and ask for knowledge. Ask for those things and ask for help to learn to be content with what you have. This is a big cause of all our problems, not being content. Do that tonight. Tomorrow morning, you get up again, do another 5 minutes. Just sit up on your bed, take a deep breath, and practice gratitude. I'm grateful. I have a bed to sleep on. Oh, it's a nice cozy bed with a nice quilt. Smile and think about all those wonderful things you have. You do have. Try not to look at what you don't have. That's the initial practice. As we go into meditation, our practices will become deeper. But for the moment, that's all I want you to practice. Simply make it simple. Gratitude in the morning, at the night, a bit of contemplation, and start like that. Tell yourself 5 minutes, otherwise you won't do it. Okay? So that's the meaning of Guru. What else do I need you to learn about before we start on this text? Okay, so Sri Swami Satchidananda was a disciple of Master Shivananda. That's Master Shivananda. He was a doctor. He worked in Malaysia as a doctor for many years. Went from India to Malaysia. What happened there is, being a doctor, he found out that he could not heal everyone. His medicine couldn't fix people. He found out that a lot of illnesses and a lot of problems were based on emotions. And he realized also with further study that these emotions could only be corrected by understanding who they were, the spirit. So he embarked on a study of spirituality. Who is the spirit? Who am I? He read all the great masters. He was so hungry for this knowledge that he started to apply this knowledge in his medicine. But that knowledge took him so much to the connection with the divine consciousness. He grew in so much love that he wanted more and more. So he dropped his medical career, went back to India to find his spirit. When he was there, there's not a lot known about him in those 2 or 3 years. Next thing we know about him, he starts this ashram. Ashram means a place where people get together and live in a spiritual way. That's what it basically means. It's kind of like the kibbutz for the Israelis, but an ashram. And so there, people came from all over the world, attracted by his energy, his strength. People just came to him. And from him came many, many, we call the great leaders of the last 100 years. Last 50, actually 70 years. Great. He died in 1956, I think it was. His birthday was September the 11th. So he died...
December the 8th.
December the 8th? Oh, thank you.
This weekend just gone.
Okay, thank you, the 8th. Thank you for correcting me. So that was his birthday, and he brought forth my master as a disciple, Chidananda, who's very famous all over the world. Once you start reading these masters, I'll give you some reading material, you will realize, what kind of knowledge they had. Chidananda was one, Chinmayananda was another great disciple, Krishnananda, Purnananda, there's hundreds, very strong, Vishnu Devananda, whose disciple now is Guru Mai. And you will find all these different disciples of these great masters, all of them have gone in the last 10 years. Alright? Yes.
He's called Shivananda?
No, he's called Satchidananda. Satchidananda. And he's called Shivananda. Satchidananda, our Guru, passed away in 2002. We were very, very fortunate in Gibraltar that he actually visited us 3 times. one of the blessed places, which was a source of jealousy for many people, right? Why should he visit? He already visited you 3 times. But he did visit us three times. And the 3rd time he came, he wasn't going to come. And he said to me, there is so much love coming from your Sangha, so much love, I have to come. You've diverted me. He was on his way to London, I think, and then to India. So he took a diversion to Gibraltar for 3 days. He said, I cannot resist love. So he came to see us the last time, which was good, because after that he passed away. So that's Gurudev. So Gurudev, when he taught first in Sri Lanka, his Master Shivananda sent him to Sri Lanka and said to him, I want you to go now out in the world and teach. So he taught in a place called Kandy in Sri Lanka. And from there, and if you go to Kandy, and I've been to his ashram, middle of nowhere in those days, people like the artists Peter Max and Conrad Brooks. I don't know if you know the film Siddhartha, very old film, Siddhartha. And Conrad Brooks just passed away recently, I believe in Thailand. He was a film director, found Gurudev in this tiny ashram in Sri Lanka. Obviously, if they fell in love with the knowledge, after a few years, he tells you in that Living Yoga DVD, they just bought him a ticket and said, we need you here in America. So they took him to America, and on his way there, we met him in Hong Kong, etc. when I was young. Anyway, he got to America, and he was with all the hippies of that age. And instead of hippies, he took them off their drugs and gave them some value to their lives. So the government of America was so impressed by his work that they gave him a complimentary residentship, because of his divine works. So, and then Gurudev, through Carole King, do you know the singer Carole King? Yeah. You Got a Friend, yeah? She donated some land to him in Connecticut. The land wasn't enough. So many people wanted to learn the spiritual knowledge. And with that money, he sold the land with her permission, and he then bought this huge land in Virginia, where he settled, called Yogaville. And how he built Yogaville is something else. In Yogaville, you have the most incredible temple in the world, and I think before anybody dies, you should visit it. It is called the Lotus. And in the Lotus, as you walk into the Lotus, it looks like a lotus flower, and at night it looks like a spaceship when you look from the mountains. And in it, you walk in, there are 12 different religions, no religion, whatever religion you choose to have for yourself. This symbol he saw in a dream, it means truth is one, the dot in the middle. We all come from the same place, but paths are many. If you're a Hindu, if you're Judaism, Shintoism, Taoism, Buddhism, whatever ism you choose, Christianity, Islam, Native American, African, and Sikhism, Native American, and African Indian, and no religion. We all search for the same thing. We all search for one truth, and the one thing that we all want and have in common is we all want to be happy, and we all want peace, and that is who we are. Why would we all want that unless we were that? Why would you look for something if you've never experienced it before? If you've never tasted an apple before, would you ask for an apple? You wouldn't. So why do we search for this peace or this feeling of spirit unless we've known it before? We've just gone away from it to experience the world and people, and we're going to go out of this world back into that spirit. And that's why as human we're never complete. We never feel whole until we become in touch with the spirit. And that's something we're searching for all our lives and we don't know what it is. That is that magic, that spark that keeps us going. It is the prana, it is the energy that keeps us alive. And we're searching for that energy outside. And you can look and you can look and you can look. You can look at it from relationships. You can look for it in material things. You will find it for a short time, but not long. The only thing that is lasting happiness is your peace within you. And once you find that, nobody, nothing can take that away. And what a way to live when you can live like that. What a nice way to live. Happy to live, happy to die. You're just always happy. And when you're not happy, you accept it totally. It's normal. No big deal. You don't make a fuss. You don't kick your legs and say, why me? You say, wow, this is interesting, this experience. What do I have to learn from it? You know? And that's the change in your chip, the chip in your brain. So that's Swami Satchidananda, and that's what he built. And when I saw this temple, you walk in, there's 12 altars, and then you go upstairs to the lotus room where nobody can talk. People just meditate there. There's one ray of light that comes from the ceiling, one ray of light, and it splits into these 12 altars. It's so magnificent to show truth is one, paths are many. The energy there when you meditate is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And that's the Lotus Temple. You've been there, Lavina. Shanti's been there. Anybody else been there in this room? No. It's phenomenal. So so Gurudev was a great Raja Yoga we're studying is what Sri Patanjali teaches, right? And Gurudev incorporates all his teachings, Raj Yoga, into his lifestyle, and he tells us all that in our lives we're all made up of different, sometimes we're emotional, sometimes we're very intellectual, sometimes we need to pray and we want to be very devotional. This is the part of our character. In order to know ourselves, we must be familiar with all these different parts of ourselves and how to make those parts ourselves into yoga, how to make that part of you into spirit. How you turn your work into spirit. So Gurudev wrote out these for all of us, called the branches of yoga, which you all taking the course need to know and need to learn. That's your homework tonight. Study and learn the branches of yoga. I can give you mine tonight. Can you share with Beata? And can I ask if somebody could read the first paragraph? Anybody likes reading? Might as well start reading in public. You're going to be doing a lot of it. Anybody want to volunteer? Thank you. Yeah, first paragraph.
Integral yoga is the synthesis of various branches of yoga. It is a scientific system for the harmonious development of every aspect of the individual. The following are some of its different branches.
Thank you, that was beautiful. Raj Yoga, who's going to do that?
Raja Yoga, the path of concentration and meditation, based on ethical perfection and control of the mind. Raja Yoga leads ultimately to the state of samadhi, or superconsciousness.
Raja Yoga, which is what we're going to be studying. Well, we'll be studying all of this, but Raja Yoga is what we're focusing on. The methods to reach samadhi or nirvana, as Buddha would call it, I think. Or nirvana, or as Buddha would call it. And that's what we are aiming for in our studying, to reach this consciousness, this super consciousness. Okay? Next, Japa Yoga. Anybody?
Japa Yoga, the concentrated repetition of a mantra, a sound vibration representing an aspect of the divine, leading to awareness of and attunement to this vibration.
Okay, in short, you'll be getting sounds, like today I said Hari Om, to repeat. They are all vibrations. There's nothing weird about them, they're just vibrational sounds. And these sounds were heard by these sages and saints many, many, many thousands of years ago. They wrote them down. And when you repeat certain mantras, that's why we have the Gayatri mantra, the Om Trayambagam mantra, which hopefully during the course you'll all be learning. And you're not learning it because you want to learn a different language, Sanskrit, it's because of the vibration of the sound. And now doctors and everybody are starting to understand the importance of sound and how sound can heal. Well, we know it. You say a kind word, I love you, and you heal someone. You shout at them, and you can break them. That's the importance of sound. So the yogis from long, long ago knew how sound could heal us. So by constant repetition of a mantra, it's one of the methods that we can use to heal ourselves. And we will have many, many sessions where we will be talking and doing some of this practice, all right? Next one, Hatha. Somebody?
Hatha yoga, postures, asanas, breath control, pranayama, relaxation and cleansing practices, kriyas, purifies and strengthen the body and mind.
I think most people here do Hatha yoga, am I correct? The physical asanas. Anybody who's not done Hatha yoga? Oh, great. So you all know what Hatha yoga. It's much more here than the way some of you have learned it. You also include pranayama, which is breathing practices. We also teach you cleansing and purifying practices to strengthen your body and mind. And why do you need to strengthen your body and mind? Because with a strong body and a clean mind, you can be in spirit. All right? So that's Hatha yoga. Next one, Karma yoga. Thank you. Thank you for reading it.
Karma yoga, the path of selfless service, by performing duties without attachment to the fruits of the action. The karma yogi becomes a conscious instrument of the divine will.
Thank you. Now, karma yoga, many people here are karma yogis. You love to work in the world. You love to do good. You love to work. Now, what happens? How do we get caught? When we work in the world, we always have expectations back. This is the cause of many people's sufferings. Oh, I did this and I got this back in return. Karma yoga is to do things without expecting anything in return. And it gives you such freedom. You know, I'm doing this, but I don't want anything in return. And it's really exciting how this works. Because a true karma yogi gets so many rewards from the divine consciousness, you really don't care about any other kind of material or anybody to say thank you or whatever, because you're constantly been given the gift of the joy of action. That's real karma yoga. You're just so happy to do it that it doesn't matter. Your reward is in the work itself. You don't need any. And when we study Sri Patanjali, we realize that a lot of our problems are the cause of attachment. We're attached to a thank you or please or sorry. And we will also learn to let all those things go and learn to be happy just in what we do. What we do with our lives is good enough. At least at the end of the day, you can answer to yourself in your deathbed, I did my best, you know. And that's karma yoga. Okay? So next one, bhakti yoga.
Bhakti yoga, the path of love and devotion to God, to an incarnation of the divine or to a spiritual teacher, by transcending the limited personality, one attains union with the divine.
Okay, now bhakti yoga, as they say, is one of the easiest ways to be in touch with this divine consciousness of God, whatever you want to call it. Bhakti normally takes, many people think of bhakti of people singing and going a bit crazy. No. Bhakti yoga is, yes, you do use songs to awaken your consciousness and your love. But bhakti yoga is so deep. It's so deep. It's a practice that is so deep. It is wonderful for very emotional people. People who are very emotional really are very emotional because they have a lot of love to give. They don't know what to do with this love, so they comes out in frustration and anger. Bhakti yoga is practicing love for everything, seeing everything as divine, seeing everybody as divine, and celebrating in that divinity in everyone. It's a beautiful practice. Mother Teresa did it. She saw Jesus in everyone. Like I said, names are not important. It's how you do it. You see God in everyone. You know, you see the divine in everyone. Or if you can't see it in everyone, use one. Like for me, Gurudev, somebody would use Lord Jesus, somebody would use Mother Mary, somebody use Saint Francis. You focus on that one. all the time. You give that one love. When you give that higher consciousness, because it's a higher conscious love, something happens. There's like you get a feedback from that energy. You get a feedback. And that feedback makes you feel your love. And through that, you realize that it's all one. We will be talking a lot about Bhakti Yoga as we go along as well. So this is just in a nutshell. Now, Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom. By study, self-analysis and awareness, the Jnana Yoga, yogi ceases to identify with the body and mind and realizes the oneness.
Okay, Jnana Yoga is the practice of somebody who has a highly intellectual mind, and you need to analyze things. You have an analytical mind. You want to know. So you ask, who am I? Who am I? Who am I really? Who am I? Am I really this body? Am I really this mind? Who am I? And you keep asking this question until one day you get all the answers and you realize you're one with the oneness. And that's Jnana Yoga. It's a little difficult path for some people because it's a lot of mind stuff before you get to the silence. But it's a question, and it's a good way to meditate. Who am I? Who am I really? And that is the branches of yoga, which you all need to know. And like I said, as we go along in the course, we will be covering all these branches. So this is your grounding, just to understand a little bit about integral yoga and about Sri Patanjali. And next week we will start with the first 2 sutras immediately when you come in, and we'll go from there. And I'd like to finish off with what for me is why I fell in love with this master. And this is what he says. The goal of integral yoga and the birthright of every individual is to realize the spiritual unity behind all the diversities in the entire creation and to live harmoniously as members of one universal family. This goal is achieved by maintaining our natural condition of a body of optimum health and strength, senses under total control, a mind well-disciplined, clear and calm, an intellect as sharp as a razor, a will as strong and as pliable as steel, a heart full of unconditional love and compassion, an ego as pure as crystal, and a life filled with supreme peace and joy. This is the goal of this course. This is the goal of integral yoga, and this is the goal of Sri Patanjali. And I love the way he puts it so succinctly in this one paragraph. And so on that note, we'll end the class tonight. Your homework today is I'd like you to start off. I want you to memorize this. I would like you also, none of you have the book yet, so I won't ask you to do the book yet. Okay, then I ask for a very short essay, and I mean short. I'm sorry, that's not in the book. I just created a new essay.
Sorry, you're changing all the time. So.
Thank you. I want you to write me a short essay. Why are you taking this course? What do you want from it? What do I want from this? What am I hoping to find? Why? Short one. Yeah, don't give me 10 pages. I don't have the time. I'm sorry. I'll be very honest.
Sorry, you said you wanted us to memorize?
The branches of yoga for homework. And whoever doesn't have it, you can have my copy here. And also to write the essay. Why am I, what do I want from this course? What do I expect? Yeah?
Would you like to have it for next week?
Yeah.
It will be good.
And just give the papers to me and Shanti, and we forward it to Nalanie. And please print them, because there's some of in different courses we've done, some people mail Nalanie, but they're nice to have, in a folder. You can look back. You laugh in a few years.
Yes, keep your own individual folder with notes, and if you get a nice thick notepad, you stick all these in, you make your own book, because we'll be giving you a handout. Get a nice long notebook and just stick them in, and then stick your notes into them, so it's all in one place, all the handouts and everything, okay? And don't struggle over writing. The reason why I make you write is because when you write, you think. Yeah, I want you to think. I want you to start using the practices. No point studying if you don't think. No point, with all this study without the practice is useless, all right? So we're practicing all the time. All the time. That's what I want you to do.